She walked down the aisle with hope in her heart, but by nightfall, her husband had left without warning. Heartbroken and humiliated, she thought love was over for her. Until a quiet millionaire stepped into her life. What happened next will leave you speechless. Stay tuned because you're about to watch a story filled with heartbreak, healing, and hope. Hello, family. Welcome to Tales Haven. I hope you find my story videos interesting and engaging. Kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel for more stories. Thank you as you do so. Sit back, relax as we dive into the story. The garden was lit like a dream. Lanterns hung from tree branches, flickering softly in the warm evening breeze. Long tables draped in white linen stretched across the lawn, decorated with fresh roses and tiny candles. Guests in elegant suits and flowing dresses laughed, clinked glasses, and danced to the soft hum of a live string quartet. But none of that compared to the glow on Ariana Blake's face. Wearing a stunning lace gown with delicate pearl beading, she looked like something from a fairy tale. Her dark curls were pinned back, a few loose strands falling gently around her smiling face. At 26, she was the kind of woman who didn't need loud makeup or attention. Her beauty was quiet, sincere, and unforgettable. Tonight was her wedding night, and she believed she had finally found forever. She and Brandon Lee, her college sweetheart, had dated for 2 years. He was handsome, well-dressed, and charming, an up-and-coming real estate agent with big dreams. They had met during a fundraiser event at the university, and Ariana had fallen for his confidence and ambition. They'd gone through the highs and lows together, job changes, financial struggles, even a brief breakup. But when he proposed, dropping to one knee in front of her class of third graders while she taught, she thought their love had survived the test of time. The ceremony earlier that afternoon had been beautiful. Her parents had cried. Friends had cheered. Brandon had smiled as he slid the ring onto her finger and kissed her hand at the altar. But something had been off. She had noticed it during their first dance. His hands were stiff. His smile didn't quite reach his eyes. She told herself it was nerves. Maybe he was just overwhelmed. Weddings could do that. After the last toast and the final dance, they were driven to a luxury hotel suite booked for their first night as husband and wife. The bellhop wheeled in their luggage, congratulated them, and left them alone. Ariana walked into the room first, her heels clicking against the marble floor. She turned to smile at her husband. Finally, she whispered, "Just us." But Brandon didn't smile back. He loosened his tie, dropped his jacket on the armchair, and walked to the minibar without a word. Ariana's smile faded. Brandon. He poured himself a glass of whiskey, his hand slightly trembling. Then he turned to her. And what he said next would forever change her life. "Ariana, I can't do this." The words struck her like ice water down her spine. She blinked, her voice barely audible. "Can't do what?" "This," he said, gesturing vaguely between them. "The marriage. Us." Ariana stared at him, confused. "You're joking, right?" He looked down at the floor. "No. I should have said something sooner. I thought marrying you would fix how I felt. But it didn't." Her heart started racing. "You felt something was wrong and still married me?" "I tried, Ariana. I really did. You're kind. You're beautiful. You're everything anyone would want in a wife. But I don't feel that kind of love for you anymore. I haven't for a while." Tears welled in her eyes. "So, why did you propose? Why did you let me walk down that aisle?" Brandon sighed and rubbed his temples. "Because it felt safe. Everyone said we were perfect together. I didn't want to disappoint anyone. I thought maybe I'd learn to love you the way you deserved." Her lips parted in disbelief. "You used me." "I didn't mean to hurt you," he whispered. "But staying tonight pretending, that would be worse." He picked up his bag, slung it over his shoulder, and looked at her one last time. "I'm sorry, Ariana." And just like that, he walked out the door. The room fell silent. Ariana stood frozen in her gown, her heart pounding so loudly she could hear it in her ears. The hotel suite, with its gold curtains and rose petals on the bed, felt like a cruel joke. She sank to the floor, veil still in place, hands gripping the edge of her dress. She didn't cry loudly. She didn't scream. She just sat there in complete silence as her tears fell quietly down her cheeks. By morning, a staff member knocked on the door after noticing the "Do Not Disturb" sign hadn't moved. They found her sitting by the window, still in her gown, holding her wedding ring in one hand and staring into the distance with swollen eyes. She had no words, just pain. Her parents were devastated when they found out. Her mother wept. Her father threatened to find Brandon and drag him back. But Ariana just shook her head. "No need," she whispered. "He left already. That's all he ever wanted to do." She took time off from work, stopped answering calls. The world outside moved on, but hers stood still. She didn't want revenge. She didn't even want answers. She just wanted silence. But life doesn't stay quiet forever. And one unexpected invitation to a small school charity event would lead her down a path she never saw coming, a path that would change her heart and her future forever. It had been 3 quiet months since the wedding night that shattered her. Ariana had returned to teaching, but something in her had changed. She still smiled at her students, still brought in books with colorful covers and read to them with warmth. But her eyes, those soft brown eyes, no longer sparkled the way they once did. She avoided social gatherings, declined dinner invitations. She even deleted her wedding photos and packed away the dress she once dreamed of keeping forever. People whispered. Some judged. Others pitied. But Ariana had grown used to the silence in her apartment. It was safe. Until one Friday morning at school, her closest friend and coworker, Chelsea Monroe, burst into the staff room holding a clipboard. "Don't look at me like that," Chelsea warned, pointing at Ariana's suspicious face. "I signed you up to volunteer at the literacy fundraiser tomorrow." Ariana sighed. "Chelsea, it's at the school gym. One day only. You'll be at the refreshment table. Minimal talking. Just pouring juice into cups." "I'm not ready," Ariana said softly. "I know," Chelsea replied, sitting beside her. "But Ariana, this event is about kids and reading. It's everything you love. And it might help you feel like you again. Just come. You don't have to impress anyone." Ariana looked at her, hesitated, then finally nodded. Saturday came, and the school gym was buzzing with life. Balloons lined the entrance. Banners reading books open new worlds hung across the walls. Teachers guided students from booth to booth, where they could win storybooks, listen to live readings, or write letters to their favorite characters. Ariana wore a simple pink blouse and light jeans. No makeup, just lip balm. She didn't want attention. She just wanted to disappear behind the juice table. And for the first hour, she did. Until he walked in. A tall man in a dark blue suit stepped through the gym doors. His walk was calm, his posture straight. No name tag, no assistant by his side, yet the principal himself rushed over to greet him. Ariana looked up, distracted by the sudden buzz. "That's Nicholas Grant," Chelsea whispered beside her, eyes wide. "Who?" Ariana asked. Chelsea leaned in like she was sharing a secret. "A billionaire. He owns Grant Developments. Donated $500,000 to rebuild our school library wing last year. No one ever sees him at these events, he just sends checks. But today, he's actually here." Ariana glanced at him again. Nicholas didn't look like a typical billionaire. No flashy jewelry. No fake smile. Just a man with a kind face and eyes that held something deep. Something tired. Something real. He walked around quietly, stopping to smile at kids and ask questions about their favorite stories. Then he walked toward the refreshment table. Ariana quickly turned to refill a juice jug, pretending not to notice him. "Do I have to win a spelling bee to get a cup of punch?" a voice said gently. She looked up. Nicholas was standing right in front of her, holding a small plate of crackers and smiling politely. She chuckled softly and poured him a cup. No competition needed. He took the cup, then looked at her for a moment. "You don't look like someone who wants to be here." She raised an eyebrow. "You're very observant. I get that a lot," he said. "But I've learned sometimes the ones who give the most don't always have the most to give." Ariana paused. There was something in his voice. He wasn't just saying it. He meant it. I'm Ariana, she said finally. Nicholas, he replied, shaking her hand gently. Thank you for the drink and for being honest. She smiled. What about you? You don't look like someone who usually attends events like this. You're right, he said with a small laugh. But I came today to remember why I started giving in the first place. Their eyes held for a moment longer than expected. He excused himself after a few minutes, moving on to the next booth. But Ariana found herself watching him as he spoke to the children with surprising gentleness. He knelt to their level, asked questions, laughed easily. He didn't act like a man trying to impress anyone. He acted like a man who understood loss. As the event wound down, Nicholas passed by the table once more. I'm glad I came today, he said, sipping one last cup of juice. Why is that? Ariana asked. Because I met someone who reminded me that quiet people often carry the deepest stories. She blushed, unsure what to say. He handed her a business card, but didn't say a word about business. I host a small art exhibit next weekend. Not fancy. Just local artists and soft music. You're welcome to come. Only if you want. She looked at the card in her hand, then back at him. Thank you. He gave a small nod and walked away. And for the first time in a long while, Ariana felt something inside her stir, not pain, not fear, just curiosity. Ariana sat on her bed that night, holding Nicholas's business card in her hand. Her fingers traced the simple, raised letters. Nicholas Grant. Founder, Grant Foundation. Personal contact, private event access. There was no pressure in his tone earlier. No expectations. Just an open door. Something she hadn't felt in a long time. She placed the card on her nightstand. And for the first time in months, she didn't cry before falling asleep. The next weekend arrived quietly. The art exhibit was held in a small gallery on the east side of town. Nothing grand, just a wide space filled with soft lighting, quiet music, and colors that seemed to breathe from the canvas. Ariana hesitated outside the entrance, her hands clutching a light jacket around her. She wore a soft gray blouse and black slacks. Nothing fancy. But her natural glow, growing stronger day by day, made her stand out. As she stepped inside, the warmth of the room wrapped around her like a blanket. Paintings of all kinds hung on the walls. Some were bright and chaotic, others soft and lonely. She moved slowly, reading the handwritten descriptions beneath each one. Then she saw him. Nicholas stood near the back of the room, talking with a young boy and his mother beside a painting of a tree surrounded by books. He wore a navy sweater and dark jeans, simple, yet graceful. When he saw her, he smiled, not surprised, not forced. Just genuinely glad she came. You made it, he said, walking toward her. I did, she replied with a calm smile. It's beautiful in here. I hoped it would feel that way, he said. A place where people can breathe. They stood side by side, staring at a watercolor painting of a girl sitting alone in the middle of a storm. She looks peaceful, Ariana said. She does, Nicholas replied. Even in the storm, she's holding a book. Maybe that's the only thing keeping her steady, Ariana whispered. Nicholas looked at her gently. Just like some people. They didn't talk about love. They didn't talk about pain. Instead, they talked about books. They talked about colors. They talked about little joys, like hot chocolate in cold weather and the comfort of old songs. After the exhibit, Nicholas offered her a ride home. She agreed. In the car, there was silence, but not the awkward kind. It was the peaceful kind. The kind where words aren't needed because the presence is enough. When they reached her apartment, he didn't follow her to the door. He just parked, turned off the engine, and looked at her. I'm not good at rushing people, he said. But I am good at showing up. Ariana turned to him. Why do you keep showing up? Nicholas didn't hesitate. Because I've seen what it's like to be abandoned. And I know how it feels to question if anyone ever meant what they said. He paused, then added, I won't be that person in your story. Ariana's chest tightened, but not from pain. From the soft beat of something returning. Trust. She nodded. Thank you for tonight. Nicholas smiled. I'd say anytime, but I'll let you decide when. That night, she didn't place the business card on the nightstand. She placed it inside her favorite book. And as she closed the cover, she whispered to herself, maybe it's okay to turn the page. The days passed gently. Ariana and Nicholas kept their connection simple, but meaningful. She would text him short poems she read to her class. He would reply with photos of random things that reminded him of her, a shelf of children's books in a bookstore, a coffee mug with her favorite quote, or a painting of a girl in a blue dress standing in the rain. There was no pressure, no promises, just presence. And for Ariana, that was more than enough. One morning, Ariana was helping her students decorate paper bookmarks when Chelsea walked into her classroom, holding a colorful flyer. "Don't scream," Chelsea said, handing her the paper. "But Nicholas Grant is hosting a formal dinner gala for his education foundation. Guess who's invited?" Ariana raised her eyebrows. "Me?" Chelsea grinned. "You. And I already RSVP'd yes." Ariana groaned, half laughing. "Chelsea. You need this," Chelsea insisted. "You haven't worn a real dress in forever, and this is his event. It's time, Ariana. You're strong now. And you deserve to be seen." The night of the gala arrived faster than she expected. Ariana wore a deep blue gown that hugged her figure softly and flowed at her feet like calm waves. Her hair was pulled into a soft bun with a few loose curls falling gracefully at the sides of her face. Her makeup was light, but her beauty was glowing. Nicholas met her at the entrance of the ballroom. He froze when he saw her. "You look like peace," he said softly. She smiled. "That's the best compliment I've ever received." He offered his arm, and she took it. The ballroom sparkled with gold lighting and soft music. Round tables with crystal glasses surrounded the dance floor. Important people from across the city had come to support Nicholas's foundation. But Ariana didn't feel small in the room. Not tonight. Tonight, she felt like she belonged. Until he walked in. Brandon, dressed in a dark tuxedo. Clean-shaven. Polished shoes. His hand was around the waist of a tall, glamorous woman with a confident smile. Ariana's breath caught. She hadn't seen him in almost a year. Not since he walked out of the hotel suite and shattered her world. Nicholas, noticing the sudden change in her, turned. His expression tightened. "That's him," Ariana whispered, barely moving her lips. Nicholas placed a calming hand on hers. "Do you want to leave?" She paused, then shook her head. "No. I'm done running." Brandon noticed her a few minutes later. He froze. His eyes widened when he saw who she was standing next to. Nicholas Grant, the man who owned half the city. Brandon approached cautiously, leaving his date behind. "Ariana," he said slowly, trying to smile. She looked at him without fear. "Brandon. I didn't expect to see you here." She raised an eyebrow. "Because I wasn't supposed to recover?" He opened his mouth but didn't reply. Nicholas stayed silent beside her, letting her take the lead. "I heard about your company," Brandon said. "Looks like you're doing well." "I am," she said calmly. "And not just in business. In life." Brandon glanced at Nicholas, then back at her. "So, this is serious?" Ariana smiled. "Brandon," she said clearly, "you once told me that marrying me felt safe, not right. But this," she gently placed her hand on Nicholas's, "this feels like home." Brandon swallowed hard. "I didn't come here to start anything." "Then don't," Nicholas said, finally speaking. His voice was steady, respectful, but firm. "She doesn't owe you anything." Brandon looked at both of them. His pride wanted to say more, but he walked away. Ariana exhaled slowly. "You okay?" Nicholas asked gently. She nodded. "I didn't expect to feel so calm. But I do." "You stood your ground." "I didn't stand alone," she replied, looking up at him. Later that evening, as the music played and people danced, Nicholas took her hand. "Can I have this dance?" Ariana smiled. "Yes." They moved slowly across the floor, surrounded by soft lights and soft music. "I've been meaning to ask you something," he whispered in her ear. "What's that?" she asked. "Would it be too soon to tell you I'm falling in love with you?" Ariana's heart skipped a beat. She didn't answer with words. She laid her head gently on his shoulder and whispered, "I was hoping you'd say that." Ariana lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling. Her head still rested where it had fallen earlier, on Nicholas's shoulder during their dance. She could still feel the warmth of his arms around her, his words echoing in her mind. "Would it be too soon to tell you I'm falling in love with you?" She hadn't said it back, not yet. But her silence wasn't hesitation.
It was awe.
A quiet thank you whispered to the universe for giving her a second chance when she thought she'd never smile again. In the days that followed, things between them shifted, but not in a loud or overwhelming way. Nicholas didn't start sending flowers every day or calling every hour. He didn't try to rush her or claim her. He simply continued to show up just like he promised. One morning, Ariana arrived at her classroom to find a box of brand new books sitting on her desk with a small handwritten note. "For your students. And for the girl who used books to survive her own storm." And another day, when it rained, he appeared at her school gates holding 2 umbrellas. "You're here again?" she asked, surprised. "I had a feeling you'd forget yours," he said, smiling. He was right. They shared his. One weekend, Nicholas invited her on a walk through a quiet neighborhood. He didn't tell her where they were going. They arrived at a small building painted in soft colors. Children were playing outside, laughing as they kicked a soccer ball across the grassy yard. The building had a large banner that read, "Coming soon, the Ariana Blake Learning Center. For children, for dreams, for healing." Ariana stood frozen. She turned to him. "Nicholas, what is this?" "I bought the land months ago," he said, "but I didn't know what to name it until I met you." Tears filled her eyes. "You didn't have to." "I wanted to," he interrupted softly. "You inspired me. You turned pain into purpose. I just gave it a roof and a door." She stepped forward, touching the sign gently as her fingers trembled. "Why are you always so kind to me?" she whispered. Nicholas stepped closer. "Because you're the kind of woman who thought she had to be broken to be loved. And I need you to know, your strength is not in how well you survived, but in how you love without bitterness." Ariana looked up at him, her heart swelling. "And this time," she said it first. "I love you, Nicholas." His eyes softened. "You do?" She nodded, smiling through her tears. "And not because you saved me, but because you saw me when I didn't even see myself." He took her hands, holding them tightly. "Then let's build something that lasts. Not just buildings or programs, but a life. Together." 1 year later, the Ariana Blake Learning Center opened its doors to a crowd of parents, teachers, and smiling children. Nicholas stood by Ariana's side as she gave a short speech, her voice steady and proud. Her parents were there, this time crying tears of joy. Chelsea cheered the loudest. And standing in the back of the room, unnoticed by most, was Brandon Lee. He watched Ariana speak with confidence and love. She no longer looked like the woman he left behind. She looked whole. He walked away quietly before the event ended. There was nothing left for him to say. Later that evening, Ariana and Nicholas sat on the steps outside the center as the sun dipped below the trees. Nicholas pulled a small velvet box from his pocket and handed it to her. She opened it. Inside was a simple diamond ring. Elegant. Understated. Timeless. "Not because you need a ring to feel loved," he said, "but because I want you to know I'll choose you. Today, tomorrow, and every day after." Ariana's eyes filled again, but this time with only one emotion.
Peace.
She nodded.
Yes.
1,000 times yes. She had once been left in tears on her wedding night. But now she stood beside a man who would never walk away. Because this time, love didn't hurt. This time, love stayed. That brings us to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you do, kindly subscribe to my channel for more stories. Like, and share this video to your friends and loved ones. You can also comment what you feel about the story. Thanks for watching.